3.7, which is talking about absolute value inequality. At the beginning, we have to know that what is the meaning of absolute value. So we said the absolute value, it's the distance from zero, and always it will be positive value. If we want to divide our lesson into three categories or three regions, then to study absolute value inequality, you have to divide your work into three parts. First part with zero, second part with negative number, third part with positive number. Then let me say again, to study absolute value inequality, then you have to study three different cases. And inside each case, you have two different cases, which is more than or equal, less than or equal. But the main points which we have to work with should be the 3 points. Number one, we have to study cases with zero. Number two, we have to study with negative. Number three, we have to study with positive. Okay, then please care about these 3 points. Could you please, who will tell me the main three cases which we are going to study them today? The main three cases which we are going to study them today, it will be what? Solving absolute value inequalities with zero
Zero, negative number, and positive number.
number and positive number. Let me start with you with zero. We have three different cases with zero. If you have the absolute value more than or equal zero, more than or equal zero, any absolute value should be more than or equal zero. So once you have an inequality like this, then please, the answer, it will be all real numbers. So what the meaning of more than or equal zero? If I'm going to substitute the value of x by any number greater than zero, could you please tell me any number greater than zero? Any number greater than zero?
1.
5.
1.
Okay. 5. Then 1. Yes. So we will replace the value of x as you said. Then it could be absolute value 5 minus 4 more than or equal 0. The answer, it will be 1, and 1 is more than or equal 0, right? If you will substitute the value of x by 4, we said more than or equal what? More than or equal 4. Then, if I will substitute the value of x by 4, it will be what? It will be absolute value 4 minus 4, which means 0. 0 more than or equal 0. This inequality is correct or wrong? If I would say 0 is more than or equal 0. So the inequality,
Correct.
it will be correct, which means the answer directly. Once you have absolute value more than or equal 0, so the answer, it will be all real numbers. We will not continue to answer the question. The second case, if he will give us the inequality with less than 0. Less than 0, absolute less than 0, we can't accept something like that, right? Because already absolute value should be positive. And when he said less than 0, which means it will go to the left side, which means it will be a negative value. Negative value, we can't accept. It's wrong. It's a math error. When you said that the absolute value less than 0, so here you have something wrong. So the answer, it will be no solution. This inequality, I want to solve it, so we have to add the additive inverse to both two sides, -4 or -4. Or you can say that you are going to transfer 4 to the opposite side, then the absolute value 2x minus 1, it will be less than 4 minus 4. And 4 minus 4, it will be equal 0. So the answer in this case, it will be no solution. So the second case, when we have an absolute less than 0. So the first case, when we have an absolute value more than or equal, take care, it's more than or equal 0. So it will be all real numbers. Second, if the absolute less than 0, no solution. What about if the question will be -3? Look at this question. -3 plus absolute value x plus 1 less than or equal -3. We are looking for the value of x, which it will substitute this inequality, which it will make this inequality correct. Then I'm going to transfer -3 to the opposite side. So it will be -3 plus 3, which means it will be equal 0. Now we have this inequality. Absolute value x plus 1 less absolute value x plus 1 less than or equal 0. So what is the value of x, which I'm going to substitute it here inside this absolute to make this inequality correct. In this question, I said we can change this one into equation, like what? Like x plus 1 equals 0. Then we will add additive inverse or transfer it, which means x equal -1. So in this case, I have value of x, one value of x, which it can make this inequality correct, which is I can substitute the value of x by -1. So it will be -1 plus 1 less than or equal 0. Then 0 less than or equal what? Or equal 0. So the inequality now is correct. So we have only one. So in this case, absolute value is less than or equal 0, then we will change the inequality to be an equation, and then we will find the answer to make it correct. Let me give you a question. Please try to solve it and tell me the answer. Absolute value x minus 5, absolute value x minus 5 less than or equal 0. Absolute value x minus 5 less than or equal 0.
5.
What is the value of x, which it will substitute this inequality?
5 minus 5 less than or equal 0.
Thank you so much. So we have only one value, right? We have only one value. If you will try to find any other value, it will not make this inequality correct. How did you find it? We change x minus 5 to make it like an equation. X minus 5 equal 0. Then the value of x equal 5. So to substitute this inequality, it will be only equal 5. Okay? Then, as you can see, now we have 3 cases with 0. First, absolute value greater than 0, greater than or equal 0. Yes, all real numbers. Absolute value less than 0. It's impossible to find any number to substitute this inequality. So the answer, it will be no solution. The third one, absolute value less than or equal, then you will find only one value. Then look at the last two cases here, B and C. With B, he said less than, so I said no solution, I can't find. In C, he said less than or equal. Then we have an exception here that it could be equal 0. For this reason, we said that we are going to change the absolute to make it equal 0 and then solve it like an equation. Then we found a value of x equal -1. Any questions so far to this point? Let's move to another question. So please, you will try to solve question D and E and F. Please copy them in your notebook. Copy them in your notebook, please. Question number D. Absolute value 3x plus 4 plus 5 less than or equal 3. السكند 2 absolute value x minus 1 minus 4 more than or equal 2. Third, absolute value x minus 6 plus 6 greater than or equal -4. Okay, so I have a question here. For question number A, absolute value x minus 4 more than or equal 0. More than or equal 0 means what? Tell me the options which we can substitute by using them. Which options we can use it here? More than or equal 0. Any number positive or more than 0, right? كل الابسوليوت value it should be more than 0. كل الابسوليوت value more than 0. Then if you will substitute any value of x inside the absolute value, give me any number, positive, negative, 0, any number. Grade 9.
1.
1, okay. If I will substitute the value of x by 1, it will be 1 minus 4 equal absolute value -3. Absolute value -3 equal how many?
3.
Equal 3. And 3 more than or equal 0. Give me any number, even if it's a negative. Maybe x is negative, مثلا 2, then absolute value -2 minus 4, right? Then absolute value -2 minus 4, it will be how many? It will be how many? It will be 6. And 6 more than or equal 0. Give me the value of x equal 4. Then it will be 4 minus 4 more than or equal 0. Okay. 4 minus 4, it will be 0. El 0 more than or equal 0, yes. Which means any value, it will substitute this inequality. Any value you will replace the x by using it, it will be solution for this inequality. For this reason, we said, once you have more than or equal 0, so the answer, it will be all real numbers. Less than 0, impossible. No. Less than or equal 0, we have one solution. How you are going to find this solution? By solving this value inside the absolute like an equation. Okay? Any questions so far before we will start to the next part? Okay. Look at the next question. The next question is absolute value. Is there anyone answer number D? Is there anyone answer number D?
Yes.
Yes.
I answered it.
Okay. What did they answer with you?
It's for 15 more than or equal 3.
15
Yes.
more than or equal 3. Hmm. Let me check
No
Yes.
this
solution.
case.
No solution.
No
No
solution.
solution. Yes, it will be no solution. Why? Because first we have to transfer 5 to the opposite side. It will be 3, 3 minus 5, right? Then 3 minus 5, it will be how many? It will be negative 2. Now check with me the inequality. Absolute value absolute value 3x plus 4 less than or equal negative 2. You can accept something like that? Absolute value less than negative 2?
No
No, we can't. For this reason, the answer, it will be no solution.
solution.
Okay? Let's move to the next part. 2, absolute value x minus 1 minus 4 more than or equal 2. We will transfer or we will add the additive inverse. Which way you prefer, it's up to you. But by the end, we have 2 absolute value x minus 1 more than or equal 6. We have to simplify the inequality. So we will divide it by 2 and divide it by 2. Now we have absolute value x minus 1 more than or equal 3. Let's stop with this point. In this case, you will find that the absolute value bigger than a positive number. Bigger than a positive number. Then in this case, you have to answer your question in 2 different cases, which means you have to say that you will answer this question one time and second time, or first case and second case. This, it will happen when grade 9, when
More than a positive number.
more than or equal, right? More than or equal, please remember, more, it will be or. Did you see this one? Or.
Yes.
Then once you have more than or equal, you have to answer your question and you will use or. Why? Because we will divide our answer into 2 branches or 2 cases. How we are going to divide our answer into 2 cases? First, remove the absolute value sign and make copy paste. Like it will be x minus 1 more than or equal 3. What about the second branch? The second branch, it will be x plus 1, but you have to flip the symbol for the inequality. Instead of bigger than or equal, it will be less than or equal. L3, it will be negative 3. Understood this point? Then once you have an absolute more than or equal a positive number, then your answer should be or. Your answer should be or. Okay? Then how you will solve this question? You are going to divide your answer into 2 parts. The first part, it will be copy paste x minus 1 more than or equal 3, and x minus 1 less than or equal negative 3. Now we will add the additive inverse for both, then x more than or equal 4. Will opposite side, it will be x is less than or equal negative 2. You have with intervals, but intervals, you will study it by details in grade 10. But let me now represent this one by a number line. If I want to represent the solution on the number line, then we have x is more than or equal 4, right? So we will go and we will plot a circle. It will be shaded circle or a blank circle. X more than or equal 4. It will be shaded circle or blank circle?
Shaded.
And what about x is less than or equal -2? So we have another circle here. And the first one stand on 4. Where the second stand on -2. Then we are going to shade for the first one. If x more than or equal 4, so we have to shade to the right side. Agree with me? And what about this one? We will move where?
To the left.
To the left side. To the left side, the last point here is not the last point. So we have, this is called negative infinity, which we don't have end for the numbers. And when you extend to the right, it will be positive infinity. No end in the right side. Negative infinity, no end with the left side. So you can represent this one by something called intervals, right? That what is the solution set, which you will substitute in this inequality to make your inequalities correct. So the options in front of you, it will start from negative infinity till -2. It's closed, so we can draw an arc like this. Okay, what about this one? We have closed 4 and we have a positive infinity. Then it will be closed 4 and positive infinity. But as I told you, this is just for information. We will go through by details with this one, but I'm looking for only to know how you can solve the inequality, how you can represent it by using number line to give me a numbers which we can replace it in the absolute value inequality to get the right answer. Could you please give me any number can be substitute this inequality? Give me any number can be substitute this inequality.
Can't or can?
It can. Yani give me a number, I will replace it here to make our inequality correct.
5.
5, okay. Let's substitute the value of 5. Then 5 minus 1, it will be absolute value 4. Absolute value 4 is more than or equal 3, so it's correct. Pick up any value related to the other part.
-3.
-3. Okay, you told us at the beginning, Ahmed, you told us 5, right? And now you told us what? -3. Okay. If we will substitute up, so we said that -3 minus 1, it will be absolute value -4. And absolute value -4 equal 4. And 4 more than or equal 3. Okay. If you will substitute -3 in this part here, it will be -3 minus 1 more than or equal 3. It will be, this one, it will be correct. Again, I said -3 minus 1 more than or equal 3. It will not be correct. But if you will back here and you said -3 minus 4 less than or equal -4, it will substitute this inequality, right? For this reason, we said what? Or. It will be the answer for this one or this one. But if you will back to replace in the original inequality, it will be correct. Understood this part? Let's move to the next question. So we said if it's bigger than, so we have to divide our answer into two parts. What about if we have this inequality? Absolute value x minus 6 plus 6 more than or equal -4. We will transfer 6 to the opposite side. It will be absolute value x minus 6 more than or equal -10. Is this correct? Is this correct?
Yes.
Then the answer, it will be all real,
Or number.
be all real numbers. Let's check with the second case. We said once we have a question more than, so it will be or, right? If the question is less than, so the answer, it should be and. Like what? Look at this question. 3, 4x minus 1 less than or equal 9. Then less than we will use and. More than we will use what? More than or. So in this question, we will divide our answer into two parts. The first part, copy paste. The second part, you will flip the sign for 3 and you will flip the symbol for the inequality. Instead of less than or equal, it will be more than or equal. Instead of 3, it will be -3. Then we will solve an inequality. You will find that the first one, it will be x less than or equal 1, while second, it will be x more than or equal -half. So we can solve an inequality and then we will represent it graphically. Once we will represent graphically, we will draw the number line and then we will extend the line. Here we will extend, number line here, and then we will plot the point. For the first one, it will be blank circle or shaded circle. For the
Shaded.
Shaded circle. So I have a circle here, and from this one, I have another one, and then I'm going to write its x is more than or equal -half. So this is -half, and it will be more than or equal, which means you will shade above the line or to the right. And I have 1, and I'm going to shade
To the
left. Then you will discover in this part that you have a common region. You will find a common region between them. This reason we said that this one, it will be what? It will be what? It will be and, because we found a common region between them. If you will try to find any number belong to this region, it will satisfy the both two inequalities. Okay, so in this lesson, we said that we have 3 different cases. In first case, we have to study with 0. We have to study second with what?
with positive numbers.
With positive number. If it's more than or less than. And also if it's more than or less than. Once you have any question with less than, then you are going to use and. More than, you are going to use or. And as I said before, how we are going to explain the answer for the question.